there was a taxi in front of me going left, and so I followed the taxi, and there was a policeman. The policeman let the taxi go and it stopped me. People often ask me what is my most embarrassing moment in travel. I've been to 96 countries in my time, I've lived in 10, and I've had my fair share of moments of embarrassment and of danger and so on. But I would say probably the number one moment of total embarrassment was in 1992 in St. Petersburg in Russia. We were in the post-Soviet era for a few months. I was living in an apartment in St. Petersburg with a beautiful girl called Fiona from Scotland, who I was madly in love with, but she wasn't very in love with me. And we were together as friends for several months, both learning Russian and both trying to find our way in Russia. And one Sunday morning, I was in bed in the same room that we were sharing in different beds, and I was there lying naked under the duvet in hope and expectation as usual. And the phone rang. I was working on my computer. Fiona answered the phone, and it was her friend Steve, who was a university friend who'd just come off the train from Odessa in the Crimea and was wondering if we could pick him up from the station. I had a car, Fiona didn't, and I said I would pick him up, but I didn't really want to get dressed because I was going to go back to working in my bed. So I put on my dressing gown, my bathrobe, and then I thought I'd just drive in the car, pick him up, come home, and that would be it. My bathrobe was bought by my mother when I was 13 years old at boarding school. When I was 13, it was quite functional. When I was 22, it was a bit short in certain places. But I put on the bathrobe and off we went to the station. I was driving the car and we were 100 meters from the station, and then we saw a sign which was no left turn. So I drove around and I came to the same sign again. There was a taxi in front of me going left, and so I followed the taxi, and there was a policeman. The policeman let the taxi go and it stopped me. Fiona said, "Officer, I'm going to the station," and I was left alone with the officer in my bathrobe that my mother had bought me when I was 13. He asked me for my papers, and I said, "Unfortunately, I left my papers at home." And he said, "Okay, come to the station and sign some paperwork, and then we'll take it from there." And I said, "Officer, I'm in my 13-year-old bathrobe. I can't really get out of the car." And he says, "I don't care." Okay, nor do I. So I followed him in my bathrobe, which didn't really cover everything that it should do, into the police station, and there were prostitutes and drug addicts and various other non-desirables, and I filled in the paperwork, and then he said the fine is 300 rubles, which was about $4 at the time. Unfortunately, I left my wallet at home. And he said, "But your girlfriend probably has some money." And I said, "Well, I wish she was my girlfriend, and maybe she does, but she's not here. She's at the station." And he said, "Then go and ask her." So I went onto the street. There was a big street between me and the station. One of the biggest streets in St. Petersburg, 5 lanes of traffic either way. And I'm standing there in my little bathrobe, waiting for the green man to say go. Everybody's staring, and I can confirm that at that time were 22 platforms at the St. Petersburg main train station, because I walked down every single one looking for Fiona because I couldn't find her. When I came home, there she was with her friend Steve, who thought I was a bit weird, and I said, "Can I please borrow some money to pay the fine?" And of course she's Scottish, so she said no.